Happy New Year, welcome to 2021, and welcome back to my channel. Hi, my name is Jason, also known as Ezeekat around the internet, which is incredibly important because today we're talking about Ezeekat's book club. I had a lot of ideas for this video. I was gonna film myself walking peacefully by a lake, or perhaps looking up at the clouds and thinking, but you could hear my voice because I do like a fancy voiceover. But I decided not to do any of that because at the end of the day, what I love about my YouTube channel and about a lot of my channels is that a lot of it comes down to me just talking to you guys and being myself and being as real as possible, I guess. So first and foremost, this entire video is going to be about Ezeekat's book club, which officially starts now. I'm going to explain a little bit about the book club, kind of my vision for it, and then I'm going to introduce you to the book of the month. So I hope that you don't just skip forward to the end to see what the book is, but if you do, that you come back and see kind of the thought process behind all of this. So with all that being said, let's jump in. First of all, let's talk about the book club itself. I have wanted to run my own book club for a very long time. And being able to do this in this virtual space with so many of you is a dream come true, but also sort of terrifying. Terrifying in the fact that I recognize that every month I'm going to be picking a book, and some of you may not love the book. Some of you may love the book. And I think the most important thing is that we're able to discuss the book, and we do it in a very respectful, adult sort of way, because I think it's totally fine to have different opinions on books as long as we respect each other's opinion. So that to me is the most important part of all of this. But I do hope that I introduce you throughout the year to mini books, some of which you may have never heard of, even new authors and things of that nature. So the way that I'm going to run Ezeekat's book club is that every month I will be selecting a book. It will be a book that I have read and that I have hand selected to share with all of you for that month's book club. This is more along the lines of things like Oprah's book club or Reese's book club. She's not necessarily reading the book alongside of you. She is essentially curating this list. In this way, I hope that the book club sort of evolves in the way that like your favorite music album evolves. I want every month to be, a track on this album of this story that we're living together. And every book will be selected for, very special, unique reasons and the way that I feel like it fits into this story. So maybe one or two books in, we won't quite have an idea of what this story is going to look like for us. But as the year progresses, I really hope that we start to see a trend and a theme. And we look back at 2021 or even beyond and see this kind of string of books that we read and how they all kind of connected, even though they were maybe very different. I do hope to bring you guys books from all kinds of different authors. Obviously, a lot of the books that I pick will be young adult. And even if I pick an adult book, I hope that it will be a book that is still accessible to younger adults, teens, things like that. That's really the plan. So great example is, this past year, Anxious People came out. That is an adult book, but I think it's a book that I could easily recommend even to like teenagers. There's nothing in it that's necessarily bad for younger eyes to see. I also want to make a note that I don't fully intend yet to stick to one genre. I think you'll probably see a lot of fantasy because I love fantasy. You may see some sci-fi, but I imagine you'll also see quite a few contemporary books here too. I have a few on my list that I'm really looking at to be part of this book club, and they're contemporary. So I think you'll get a really good mix of things. So if you don't love one month's book, I urge you to still maybe come back for another month's book because there should be a lot of diversity both in authors, stories, and just the genre and type of books that we're reading. I also want to mention that every month there will be some sort of giveaway. So if you're not already following me on Instagram and TikTok, go and check those out. I will be doing a giveaway of this month's book on each of those channels. YouTube makes things like that a little more challenging, at least that I found so far. Perhaps YouTube giveaways will come in the future, but for now, I'm limiting that to Instagram and TikTok. You can go check those out right now, and they'll be going for the next couple of days. I'm posting this video on January 1st. Those giveaways will be, all the dates and all that stuff will be posted in the Instagram and TikToks, and they'll be obviously going a little bit earlier in the month because if those people win the book, I want them to get it as soon as possible so they can start reading along with us. And that brings us to where the book club exists. Across all of my channels, you'll find parts of the book club. So obviously I'll be posting on YouTube, as you know right now, because you're living it. I'll also be posting on TikTok and Instagram, but the real hub of the book club is going to live on Goodreads. So if you aren't already a member of Goodreads, you should do it. It's free. You can join the book club, so I'll link it down in the description below. You just go on, you join, and you're part of it. Again, make sure that all the discussion there is super respectful. I want to make sure that it's okay if we disagree on characters or story, but we always have to be respectful of each other and each other's opinions. Otherwise, what are we even doing? Why are we even discussing books if we can't be respectful? Come on. There you will see the book of the month posted, and there will be a discussion forum where you can talk about the book as well. And as the months go on, maybe we'll come up with new things to put there as well, new areas to talk about the book, new specific things to talk about the book. You know, I really want that to be kind of the home hub of all of this that branches out into my other social channels. And finally, at the end of every month, we will come together for a discussion. So I'm still working on this a little bit, but my plan right now is for us to come together on a Zoom call where we will have discussion topics. If that doesn't work out, then we'll just do some live streams on Instagram and things like that. But the hope is that in some way, we're able to come together at the end of the month to discuss this book all together at a certain time with discussion questions and just kind of like talking about what we loved about the book. So that's what I'm working on. We're still a little bit far out, but towards the end of January, I'll have a more firm, like, this is how this is going to go to give you guys an idea. I'm just kind of experimenting with some pieces of it before then. I think that's all the housekeeping stuff. We talked about where the book club's going to be. We talked about how the book club's going to work. I think it's time to introduce you to the very first book of the month. So you've heard me talk now for a little bit about what I envision this book club to be. I really hope it's a mixture of all kinds of things. I hope it's a meeting of worlds. I hope, like I said, I hope you read some authors that you know and love, and I hope you read some authors you've never heard of before. I hope you read authors from different ethnicities, different genders, and I hope you read different perspectives, and I hope every book that I present to you gives you some sort of inclusivity or diversity that is different from the previous one. And the reason this first book got picked is because it really does, in its storytelling, represent this idea of worlds colliding, of, you know, finding new things and learning from each other and seeing the vast differences between people and still being able to like find a common ground there and learning from each other and being open to new ideas. It also is a book that really collides this idea of science and fantasy into this really cool story. And last but not least, it's a story filled with adventure. So I really want every book, whether it is contemporary or fantasy or sci-fi or whatever it might be, to be full of, to make you feel like you're going on a journey, going on an adventure of some kind, and really like lifting out and escaping out of your room into some sort of magical world. And sometimes contemporary can feel like a magical world too, and I hope to really show you that throughout the year. So this book represents all of those things to me. This book, when I first read it, just really reminded me of Miyazaki films, things like Spirited Away. It just really has that vibe. I really, really loved it. And so, without further ado, I am proud to announce that the very first pick for Ezeekat's book club for the month of January 2021 is The Other Side of the Sky by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. I am not going to spoil a lot because I'm hoping that a lot of you will read this book, but essentially, this is a story of two worlds colliding. One is a young man who is coming from the city in the clouds, which is full of technology. It has this like kind of steampunk vibe. And one is of a young woman who is living on the actual earth below, and it's much more like magic-based and ethereal and high fantasy type. And the two of them meet, and of course their worlds colliding means a lot for both them and their people who don't even realize the other exists. So yes, this is a grand adventure, and it does harken to things like Miyazaki, which I love, but I think it also just really is a great place to start for that idea of worlds colliding, empathy, you know, realizing that maybe your worldview is not all the answers, and someone else's worldview could completely change the way you think about your world. I think that speaks to a lot of what we really need in the world right now, is for people to be open to listening and learning from each other. And yeah, there's some hardships along the way, and you'll see that these characters aren't always as open to learning and listening to each other. But I think their story and watching them grow in this way is really exciting. And there's also just some really interesting diversity and inclusivity and things that are mentioned in this book that I don't think I've ever seen mentioned in any other book. There's one of the characters is sort of involved in like a polyamorous relationship. I don't think I've ever seen that in another book. I mean, I'm sure it exists, but reading that, I thought, oh wow, I don't think I've ever really seen this in a young adult fantasy book before. And that was really exciting to me. I just think it's such a fun adventure. It's such a great way to start off a new year with like a fun, new adventure, a fresh start. I know that some of you may have already read this. Many of the books coming out this year will be 2021 releases, but obviously that's challenging to do in January. It is a more recent book, but it's a book I don't think enough people are talking about, and I think it's really, really special and unique. It has a lot of the things that you love about young adult fantasy, but I think it introduces a whole lot of new ideas. It has some really great writing. It has some really fantastic characters. I am so excited for you to read it. And that's that. So more to come this month, but for the latest news, obviously make sure to check out my Instagram, my TikTok, and of course, follow the group on Goodreads. That's where you'll see a discussion thread posted. So as you start to read, you can really dive in and talk with other readers about the book. And I'm so excited to continue this journey with you. And I hope that you enjoy The Other Side of the Sky as much as I did. As I said before, make sure to check out Instagram and TikTok as well for giveaways where I'll be giving away a copy of this book, as well as a library face mask, that's different, a library face mask, as well as a sticker for Ezeekat's book club. Thank you so much for being a part of the club, and I can't wait to hear what you think of the book. I sign off with this phrase every time I make a video, but especially now that I'm leading you into Ezeekat's book club, which I'm so excited to start with you. I think it fits here more than ever. Have a great day, and happy reading.